both, don't have really anything in interest. And you know what? We became really good friends, and we're still together.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. Some of the things that people can discover. Like, one of the first things I like to do with couples when I work with them is to do a family tree with them, because when they can see on paper what is the pattern of both families, they really come to a huge awareness of what's potentially going on in their relationship. Typically, we marry our father. Like, for me, I marry my father. There's a trait in my father that I'm attracted to. And I can tell you, for me, my number one thing in a man was that he had to be funny and had to make me laugh. That was my huge connection with my father. So I was always attracted, even though there were looks that I wanted, if you could make me laugh, ultimately that was the ticket. And so, like I said, I always said I would never marry somebody who was not taller than me. Never would I marry somebody who wasn't taller than me. And my husband's actually an inch shorter than me. And I vowed I would never do it. However, he makes me laugh like no tomorrow. And that was my number one thing on my list of somebody that I wanted, even though I said I wanted somebody who was tall and attractive and things of that nature. When it really came down to the things I absolutely had to have, my number one thing was that he asked to make me laugh. And if I look back at all of my relationships, no matter what they ultimately looked like, how much money they made, what type of job they had, the number one reason I was attracted to that person was because they made me laugh.
Yeah, and that's not a good quality to get married on. Just the same way.
No, that's not the only thing.
I mean,
but yeah. Yeah.
Well, that, like I told you, what I was attracted, when I was young, and you know what, it didn't last. I wasn't happy. I didn't find that anything, it made me feel happy. And, that's why, what, my mom.
Part of that is because it was all superficial, right?
Well, between money and boobs, I guess so. But, my mom sat down and said, hey, look, there's no beaver moms out there. I'm talking Leave It to Beaver type moms, or Donna Reed, from the Donna Reed show, that type of mom. And my mother said, why don't you just find somebody that will put up with you and choose somebody that is totally opposite what you're looking for. And that's what I did. And I think I made the right move. I mean, she's still here.
Well, you must have. It's lasted 41 years. You're on a good start.
Yeah, and hopefully it's at least another 20 years.
Right.
Well, our time is running out, and how do people get a hold of you? And if you have a website, I want you to plug your website.
Yeah, they can go to Withers Whisper. That's www.withers.com. And they can send me an email, Andrea@WithersWhisper. I do free exploratory sessions to talk about how we can design a coaching session package for them. And I do that for 30 minutes free so that we can see if we're a good match and what they're looking for and how we can develop a package just for them.
Oh, wow. Now, how long have you been doing this now for?
For 3 years, it'll be, it's 2.5 that I've been certified. Yeah, so going on 3 years that I have been certified doing this.
And how has your husband taken it? I mean, from being a high-paced criminal, defense attorney now to doing this. I mean, has he been 100% supportive?
I've actually only been married. I did not get married until later in life. And so I have only been married. It will be a year on August 18th. So he's only really known me as in transition, being a lawyer as well as doing the horse stuff. And my husband is a hay farmer and works for ServiceMaster. He's a general contractor for ServiceMaster. His family owned ServiceMaster for the last 27 years, and they just sold it before we got married. So he still works for them. However, his dream is to be a hay farmer, and we just purchased 48 acres about 2 months ago.
Oh, wow.
And are in the process of, farming and doing our horse thing and building a house and all that good stuff. So he's working on his dream, and I'm working on mine.
Well, you know what? I think that type of dream is great because, you know what?
Yeah.
I don't know how some attorneys can, function. I do know in the past, because years and years and years ago when I was young, I was in law enforcement for a while, and I realized I didn't want to stay in law enforcement because back then the pay sucked. And I didn't stay. I didn't stay in it, and I went back.
I don't know that it's much better.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I went into. Well, I first started out in broadcasting, got out of it, did that, got back into broadcasting. I don't know which is worse. I know job security in broadcasting wasn't as great. I'll tell you that. But you know what? The pressure, even in law enforcement, every day. Knowing things that you can't say, how you have to act on and off duty. All the responsibilities, and I looked at it, the pay and everything, and I go, this isn't worth it for me. And I moved on very fastly. But, Michael, I think even like the law practice you're doing now is completely different, isn't it, than what you originally started out as?
Oh, yeah. It's much less pressure. I've always been a sole practice attorney, probably the last part of my career, which is much more kind of like an easier lifestyle for me rather than have to go to court every day like Andrea does.
Yeah, I don't know. It's one thing. My wife worked for a few attorneys as a paralegal years ago, and I got to know some attorneys, and I don't know. It's the lifestyle, I hate to say it. I'd rather be a farmer. Or, even be a DJ or doing top 40 or what. Well, there's not much top 40 left anymore. But, I mean, the pressure, I think you made the right decision in what you're doing. And the most important is, you just like me, I found out here a few years ago I had cancer. And, my whole life just flashed in front of me. And I realized I wasn't happy what I'd done in the past. And I enjoy my life now more just doing what I'm doing. Being retired, doing a talk show, that I just enjoy my life more now than ever. I mean, at one point in my life, I had a business where I made $3-4 million a year. And I'll tell you one thing, I was a big asshole, and I was greedy. It was not enough money. And, you can be just as broke making $3-4 million a year as a normal job. I wasn't happy with myself. So I commend you, to take a step, from what you've been trained for, you went to college, what you wanted to be, to now something you feel at peace at.
Well, like you said, I think when something dramatic happens, especially health-wise, it starts to put things in perspective, I hear people say, someday I'll do that. And I'm like, have you noticed that there's no someday on the calendar? It's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but there's not anywhere on here where it says someday. And we're all living for someday, and when you hear the word cancer or brain tumor, you go, oh my God, like I could close my eyes tonight and not wake up tomorrow morning. Like it really starts to put things in perspective, and that's what it did for me. I was like, what am I killing myself for? Nobody sends me baby announcements, Christmas cards. Heck, I'm lucky if they pay their bill. So, what at the end of the day am I giving up a family for, my health for? Because the only thing they care about is, are you keeping me out of jail? Because if not, you're the worst lawyer I ever had, and I hate you, and why did I ever give you any money? And I said, life is way too short to be in this position anymore. Like, I want to do something that makes me happy and that I can, have peace with every day. And like I said, at the beginning of my practice, when I was grinding it out from law school, I was fine. And then one day I just went, is this really what I signed up for? And we're the second highest profession when it comes to suicide and drug and alcohol abuse. And our profession is doing nothing to help with that. There's only 8 states out of all 50 states that require any sort of mental health or wellness continuing legal education credits. The rest of them don't. And it's a fight. Colorado's one of the states that doesn't require it. And it's a fight for me to get any sort of continuing education credits for lawyers to come do anything with me, or for me to get approval for a class, because it's too woo-woo for them, for one. And two, if a lawyer is not able to get some sort of a spreadsheet or a PowerPoint and read it, they're like, what are we going to give you credit for? Like, they want them to come, sit, take notes in a classroom, and leave in an hour, and we'll give you a credit for that. Anything that looks different than that or outside the box, yeah, we're not able to give you credit for that. And I'm like, do you realize what is going on in our profession? Every month when I get the magazine from the Colorado Bar, I see who's in trouble, what they've been censured for and why they've been censured or disbarred or, whatever.
Or heart attacks.
And I'm like, they're in trouble for, pardon me?
Or having heart attacks.
Yeah, I said they're in trouble for 3 things. They've either taken money out of the trust account or commingled funds. They've not communicated correctly with their client, or they've picked up some sort of criminal charges or are in trouble somehow criminally for drugs, alcohol, domestic violence, something. Well, they're all 3 interrelated. More than likely, if you're stealing from the trust account, you're not communicating with your client. And
well, no, you wouldn't be, would you?
Some sort of an addiction.
Yeah. Well, this up around here, I don't know if you noticed, Michael, but there's been a lot of popular attorneys in the last couple of years ago that got busted for, touching people's trust accounts or owing the IRS, coming up with scams of not paying the IRS. So I guess, you know what, I hate to say it, I have friends that are doctors. I have friends who are lawyers. A certain amount of them, just because you're a lawyer doesn't mean you're an honest person to begin with. And just because you're a doctor doesn't mean you're in it for the right reasons like it used to be. I hate to say it. It's about money. And that's what is so sickening. And that's because of society.
And people think because you're a lawyer that you're rolling in the dough. And I can tell you, I am not rolling in the dough. When somebody is accused of a sex offense and they come into my office and I say, okay, that'll be $50,000, they're like, well, I don't have $50,000 laying around. And I said, I get it. However, if this was a doctor's office and I said to you, if you don't come up with $50,000 tomorrow, you don't have open heart surgery, you'd figure out a way to do it. I said, you're looking at life in prison. I don't know what your life is worth to you, but this is a time where you need to rally and call your friends and family, start a GoFundMe page, sell the hot rod you have, the Harley, the extra property, whatever. But I'm telling you, when you're looking at life in prison, what's your life value at?
Not very much.
So you're going to have to figure out, how to come up with the money. Otherwise, you're representing yourself or you're potentially going to the public defender. And I can tell you're going to be a file on a pile, and it's going to be hard to have somebody represent you with the same intensity because they're overworked and underpaid. So I get that you might not have any money, but you might not qualify because you make too much money. So you're going to have to come up with the money somewhere because I know you're not in a position to represent yourself.
That's what's
a choice you have to make.
That's the whole bad part, and I hate to say it, I know public defenders, there's a lot of them out there that put every effort in it. Then there's some of them, it just gets
they're good.
Yeah, but there's some of them, honestly,
it's not that.
They get burned out, and, they just take each case as it comes, and they don't even, I hate to say it, they don't even bother to research before it goes to trial. They got the folder there, and they start looking at it 10 minutes before they have to, go in the courtroom, and that's scary. But you know what it is? They're overworked, underpaid, and you get what you pay for in this society. Hey, kid, again.
Unfortunately.
Your website, Again, a way to get